All right, good morning. Happy Monday. Welcome to the Krueg Show. Sam Betesh is in the house. We're talking NFL. Let's go right now. Off and running on the Krueg Show on a Monday. Happy May the 19th, 11:30 West Coast. That means it's 2:30 East Coast. Hope everybody's having a great day. Welcome to the Krueg Show, brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Check them out. They're in Emeryville. They're in Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out, and they do run out. So get there early, get some brisket chili. Tell them the Krueg sent you. We're also brought to you by Mancini's. That's right. Quick shout out to our sponsor, Mancini Sleep World. Their huge Memorial Day sale is live now through June the 9th. That's right. You can save up to $1,200 on select adjustable mattresses, mattress sets, plus they're throwing an extra 10% off if you use Krueg10 as the promo code. It's all backed by their Rest Easy Promise, best price guarantee. They'll match the lowest price you can find, 365-night comfort guarantee. You get a full year to try it out. And free next-day delivery. If you've been thinking about upgrading your bed, now is that time. Just make sure you jump on it before June the 9th. Make sure that you use our code Krueg10 at checkout. Why? Because you're going to save 10% on $5,000 mattress bed. That's $500. So Krueg10, Krueg 10 at the checkout at any of Mancini's locations or online at sleepworld.com. And thanks to Mancini's for being a proud sponsor of the Krueg Show. All right, we're off and running on Monday. Sammy is here. We're going to talk a little NFL as we normally do. Sam, good to see you, man. How are you?
Dude, it's great, Larry. I left you last time. I was headed to the Magic Castle with Levi on Saturday, and we did get in. We did have the magic password, and we got in. And when you're in LA, dude, we'll make it happen, just so you feel official. It's not quite the Playboy Mansion, but it is exclusive, and I think you'll enjoy it. And it was great. Levi, as a 3-year-old, was of course mesmerized by all of it. So that was really. I mean,
you guys were more dressed up than I was on my wedding day. I mean, it's just. It was unbelievable watching you guys. You guys are both suited and booted and the whole deal. Why the dress? Why do you guys have to dress up? Now, don't tell me everybody there was dressed up.
I swear, dude, how about this? It's Saturday at 10 a.m. and everybody is geared up like that. I'm talking suspenders, bow ties, 3-piece suits. I mean, everyone dresses like a magician, I guess is part of the bit, but it was hilarious. We had an amazing time. It was an awesome brunch full of cocktails and coffee as well. And then you go into this show and the kids, not only the kids into the magic's great. I mean, you said it. David Blaine has done some things that'll blow your mind. And what every single one of these people that were on stage did something where I said, I have no idea what just went down. So Magic Castle in LA is it was solid. So weekend was great, but I'm locked in. All I can do, it's like these schedules come out, Larry, and all of a sudden I'm just picturing the entire season unfolding, and I just can't help it.
Well, we're going to talk a little NFL as we do with Sammy on our streams here. We're going to go heavy NFL. And so tell people what our premise of the show is today, because we always pick an NFL angle, and I'll add this graphic to the screen so people can see it. These are last year's NFL playoff teams. As you can see, 14 teams made the playoffs, 7 in each conference. Eagles, Lions, Bucks, Rams, Packers, Vikings, Commanders in the NFC, Bills, Chiefs, Ravens, Texans, Steelers, Chargers, Broncos were your playoff teams in the AFC. So what are we doing today?
All right, so you look at this right now, and we're not far enough removed from the season where any of these teams look as if, wow, they wouldn't be there. Like this, we're all just nodding our head like, yeah, that makes sense, because we just saw it and we saw how these teams got there. But here's the statistic, and the page that we're on right now, my YouTube page along with yours, this is at Thinking Out Loud, Siciliano and Sam, because I do the podcast with Andrew Siciliano, as you know, Krug. And Siciliano reminds me each season, and he reminds everybody, he does these great walk and talks on the beach, and he kind of goes through these things before the season. For 30 straight seasons, Larry, there are 4 new teams in the playoffs every single season. And that's a minimum of 4. There are many seasons where there's 6, etc. There are 4 minimum. So you're looking at this right now, and just realize that you're going to have to take 4 off of here and bring 4 that are not on this picture. And so I just thought it would be fun. Now that the schedules are out, I thought, you can start to do the math around this. Maybe it'd be fun for you and I to take a look at this. Well, let's not go crazy. We don't need it to be 4. But I thought today, why don't we take 3 off of here and put 3 new ones in? That'll be the practice. We've got a few months to take care and think of what the 4th would be. But for now, let's just look at this, eliminate 3 from here, and get 3 in. And to really go through it, I just thought what you have to think about is if you're going to put somebody in, you got to take somebody out. So it's got to make sense. So you can't take away 3 AFC teams and put 3 NFC teams. Let's make it something that would be feasible. So, essentially, if you're taking somebody from an NFC South and then you want a different champ, that makes sense. So we're going to try to do the math accurately. And to me, it's just, do you think a playoff team's got to be someone you think is going to win 10 games? And to take one of these teams off of here, you got to think they're going to lose 9. That's really what it comes down to. You got to lose at least 8. You got to have at least 8 losses on that schedule if you're thinking they're not going to be a playoff team. So that's just what it comes down to. And I thought it would be so much fun to look at this, especially now that the schedules came out and gave us a different understanding of how the next season could be, especially a team that is very near and dear to you and I, which we think are just scratching to get in here.
Well, and before we do that, we probably should also share the screen on this, because the strength of schedule does matter.
Yes,
obviously,
yes, it does.
Quite a bit. And so I just retweeted this. I'll show the strength of schedule. Let's see here. Let me share.
Go for it. You can pop this one out. All you have to do, you can exit on this one and pop yours. Yeah, there you go.
Okay, so there we go. So we'll share the screen on this, and you guys can take a look. This is the strength of schedule graphic right here.
And this is crucial.
And so you've got the easiest strength of schedule as Patriots, Niners, Saints. These are the easiest schedule. Buffalo's got an easy schedule.
Yeah, they did. They lucked out.
So the hardest schedules are the New York Giants, the Detroit Lions, and the Minnesota Vikings, Cleveland Browns, Philadelphia Eagles. Those are the top 5 most difficult schedules. So on this alone, I have one team that I'm taking out of the playoff mix from last year, just on the strength of schedule difficulty, and that's Minnesota. So Minnesota basically last year had Sam Darnold. This year they're going to have J.J. McCarthy. Last year, I don't know about the strength of schedule, but this year they have the 3rd toughest schedule in the NFL. So I'm going to say the Vikings will not be making the playoffs this year.
Go ahead and pop it up there. Let's do it. Yeah, their schedule's right there. You should see it down there. You can throw the Vikings schedule up there, and we can look at it, because it's pretty simple. I mean, this is a team that. I mean, look at this. First of all, they got back-to-back games out of the country, so that's going to be kind of brutal. But think about what this was last season. I mean, number one, Larry, you don't just changing coordinators, changing coaches, all of that is, of course, a massive undertaking for a team. But when you're talking about starting quarterback and you're going from what became of Darnold and now a rookie in J.J. McCarthy, I'm sorry, but this is a team that made it through the season with 3 losses, including one in the last week. So this is they only lost to 2 teams. I mean, they lost twice to the Lions and once to the Rams last season in the regular season. And I'm sorry, that's just that is not going to happen again. Now, this is unlike a couple of seasons ago where the Vikings won all those 1 possession games. It wasn't exactly that. This is a team that dominated week in and week out. I mean, this team was up 28-0 on Green Bay in Green Bay at one point this season. So this was a legit team last year, and we know what they can do at the receiver position. But all you have to do is look at these games, and I'm sorry, but I see 8 losses. I also see this team.
I mean, look how rough this schedule is. I mean, this schedule is rough on several fronts. First of all, you start week 1 at Soldier Field against the Bears on Monday Night Football. Now, I don't think the Bears are very good, but they're really good at home.
And they're better.
A tough team. They're a tough team at home. So you get them on Monday Night Football. Then you get Penix and the Falcons. I think Penix is going to be one of the surprise teams.
Absolutely.
I like the Falcons as a surprise team. I get the Falcons as a playoff team. They're playing them on Sunday Night Football in week 2. And this is with J.J. McCarthy, a young quarterback. Then, to me, it gets very difficult. Week 4, you're playing the Steelers in Ireland. Week 5, you're playing the Browns in England. Then you get a bye week. But look at their stretch for the next 4 weeks. They go Eagles, Chargers, Lions, Ravens. They easily could go 0-4 in that. They could wind up losing every game between week 6 and week 10. I mean,
the math on this,
that's brutal.
The math on this to me is pretty simple. I see 3 divisional losses, which I don't think is crazy, right? I mean, they lost 2 to the Lions last season, which we could see again. And both of those Packers games, the Packers came back in that game where it was 28-0. And then there was the game they played on Thursday night, which absolutely came down to a walk-off. And that was an outstanding game. 3 divisional losses. And then you're going to lose one of those. They're not going to win both games overseas. You got to say that one of those is going to be a loss. That's 4 right there. Just throwing the division out there, saying they got the 2 in London, or not the 2 in London, but Ireland and England. To have both of those, you're just not going to sweep that. And do we think again? Is this team going to beat the Eagles and the Ravens? It's going to take that they would have to beat the Eagles and the Ravens to be in the conversation. There are 8 losses here, and that's all it takes. All you have to do is look at this, and you know that J.J. McCarthy, the rookie, he's not winning 10 games. There aren't 10 wins on this. You said it, strength of schedule, and just pinpoint, look at it, game by game. You have a surprise team in Atlanta, I think, and this is not surprising, but the Cowboys are going to be better, Larry. The Cowboys are going to be better. And to play at Dallas Sunday Night Football late in the season, that's not going to be an easy one for J.J. McCarthy either. It really just comes down to it. I think if you just look significantly at the division, ask yourself, is this team going to go 5-1 in the division, or are they more likely to go 3-3? I think that's simple. That math is just right there for you. But look at the playoff teams.
I think they get ambushed. Yeah. I think this is the team that you're going to look up at the end of the first month and go, what happened to the Vikings? Why? Because at Bears, home against Falcons, but the Falcons are good. And then you get Bengals. I got the Bengals as a playoff team, and then you get the Steelers in Ireland. I mean, you literally could be 0-4 going into the Browns game in England. And then you're staring at, coming out of the bye week, Eagles, at Chargers, at Lions, Ravens. That's a brutal 4-game stretch. That's
nine playoff teams.
That's the hardest 4-game stretch.
It is.
That's got to be one of the hardest 4-game stretches for any team all year.
And it's 9 games against playoff teams. Now, it doesn't help when 2 other teams from your division go to the playoffs the year before, but you're talking about 9 games against 2024 playoff teams right here. So are these Vikings at that level? They surprised us all last season. They're not going to be surprising anyone this season. And you said it. That stretch right there. Just think about that. Yes, it's off a bye, but it's also off of international travel. And you've got the champs, a game across the country, your division rival in Detroit, who was the 1 seed, and then hosting Lamar Jackson. I'm sorry, that is absolutely, you said it, Larry. I mean, brutal. Minnesota, just to me, this was the easiest thing I did. When we looked at all the playoff teams, there were 2 that stuck out like a sore thumb, and this was just number 1. This looked purple and bruised for a reason. This is just, to me, the Vikings, it's not, go ahead and surprise me, but it's not going to happen again for these Vikings. It's not.
Also seems like Eagles, Chargers, Lions, Ravens, all very physical football teams. Very physical football teams, and you're playing them back to back to back to back. Those, I'd be very, very surprised if the Vikings, rampage that 4-game stretch. So and then they play at Seattle. I mean, I like Minnesota to miss the playoffs. Minnesota with J.J. McCarthy is going to miss the playoffs.
There you go. So that's us being, if you want to call it bold, it's not here. Here's the thing. You look at the playoff teams and then you think to yourself, okay, wow, when none of these teams, everything right now looks like you're going to chalk it right back up. But remember, the stat is, Siciliano points it out every year, 30 straight seasons. 4 teams that made the playoffs the year before are gone for the next year's playoffs. So if the Vikings are out, Larry, do we want to put somebody in? I mean,
I'll put the Niners in. I mean, the Niners have a cake schedule.
I say let's absolutely do it. So the Niners schedule is really what's so much fun here. And if you lose the graphic right now, we can get the Niners schedule up also. And the Niners schedule is just so juicy. It really is. I mean, it's great to look at the Niners schedule because of what you just said. Now, you had put up the strength of schedule and what was happening from a brutal standpoint, and that's where the Vikings were on the other end of it. The Niners have not only this, Larry, let's point this out. It's not only that they have the best, quote, easiest schedule based on opponents' records from the season before, projected win totals for 2025, it's also the best record. So this isn't just saying, oh, okay, last season this team did that and it's going to be exactly the same this year. No, this is taking into account what happened in the draft, what happened in free agency, and these teams on this schedule are the worst collection of 17 games, better than anyone else in football has. And if you go to Vegas and look at who Vegas thinks is going to win the NFC, the Niners are in the top 3 or 4 of that conversation, and it's because of this schedule. This schedule, you cannot. I challenge anyone in the chat, Larry, to find, again, are you going to find 8 losses on that schedule? I just don't. I don't see a world in which the Niners aren't 10. And how are there not 10 wins here? How are there not 10? You could make them 3-3 or 4-2 in the division, and you're still going to get to 10 wins. Only give them 3 divisional wins, which I think is ridiculous. 3-3 in the division, and still this team has 10 wins.
Yeah, I mean, I personally, I'm looking at this schedule. Okay, if I'm unbiased on this thing, where can the Niners lose? I see 5 losses. At Seattle week 1, at Rams Thursday night week 5, at Buccaneers week 6, Falcons at home Sunday Night Football week 7, at Texans week 8. After that, I don't see any real losses. They're gonna lose to the Giants? No. The Rams at home? No. At the Cardinals? No. Panthers? No. Browns? No. Titans? No. Colts? No. Bears? No. Seahawks. So I would say they're 12-5, and that's I had them losing all of the losable games at Seattle. I mean, that's first of all, the Niners are going to be in all these games, but at Seattle, at Rams, at Bucks, home against Falcons, at Texans, that means that that's 5 losses, including 3 losses in a row.
That would, think about it. The sky would be falling. According to your math, the sky would actually at one point be completely falling on the season, right? Because if you really do go through that stretch, if it's 3 in a row, everyone's going to say disaster. It looks like last season. It wasn't just the injuries. How did you pay Brock $50 million? All of that conversation is going to be happening. Well, you could have used Debo, right? All of it. We're going to hear all of it. But
they'll be 3 in my scenario. They could be 3-5 at week 8.
Dude,
everyone's going to beating the Saints, beating the Cardinals, beating the Jags, but losing to the Seahawks, at Rams, at Bucks, Falcons, and Texans. So yeah, they could be 3-5 going into week 9 and still roll, because I think the second half is just brutally easy.
Here's the games I wanted you to look at, Larry. I want you to look at a couple of games here also that are significant. Okay, and I want everyone to remember this. Strength of schedule. Okay, when people say last place schedule, first place schedule, let's understand what that is. Okay, the difference in the schedule between what the Niners have and the Rams have, when you look at what was a first place finish for the Rams and a last place finish for the Niners, here's the benefit. Here's the silver lining. That Giants game, week 9, for the Rams, that's a game against the Eagles, where the Niners have a game against the Giants. Okay, so that's the beauty of what this schedule does. Then, look at this. Week 17, that Bears game, that's a Lions game for the Rams, where it's a Bears game for the Niners. And the beauty of this really is the Browns game, week 13, is a Ravens game for the Rams. That's what last place schedule means. Those are the swings, and those are 3 of the wins that we have here where the Rams are going to have an absolute dogfight on their end. So this is what this is the gift of this schedule. The gift of last season, suffering through last season, is so that you can look at this, put it on your fridge, and throw those W's up there right now. And even with Larry's sky is falling 3-week stretch, it's 12-5. So I challenge anyone here to.
That's with the 3-week stretch.
Yes.
That's with a bad first half. If the Niners get off to a hot start, a hot start, they're going to win 13, 14 games.
Where do you stand on the late bye, Larry? Because I see it.
It's a struggle. I mean, it's the latest bye in the league.
It is. It's. I think it's more brutal.
I'd rather have a late
football.
bye than an early bye, though.
I am with you on that. This is terrible for fantasy football. It's great for real football because you're going to need those. Look, if you could run the table after the bye. Look what the Eagles did. The Eagles almost ran the table, and they had the earliest bye. They had a week 4 bye. Look how they adjusted, and they came out of the bye on fire. The Niners could, if that's just 4 wins waiting for them at the end of the season because they're going to be healthier than everybody else. What a gift that is. So this is again, Vikings beat it. Niners, you're in.
Let's talk quarterbacks here. Yeah. So it's at Darnold, probably at Tyler Shugg.
Yep.
Home against Kyler Murray.
Shuck or Rattler, which is either one, right? At week 2, right?
Home,
you don't know, right?
Home against Kyler Murray. Home against Trevor Lawrence. At Stafford. First good quarterback they play on the road is week 5. At Baker Mayfield. Home against Michael Penix, and I think Michael Penix is going to be awesome.
Yep.
At C.J. Stroud. At Jackson Dart, maybe.
Yeah, and remember that stretch, the stretch of tough quarterbacks that you just said, we actually put down as LLL. Just remind everybody that, right? I mean, we're not.
We have LLL against Stafford, Baker Mayfield,
and
Penix and Stroud.
Yeah.
I have 4 losses in a row there.
It's 4. It's actually 4. Think about that. Think about the sky is fall. We have not given the Niners the benefit of the doubt to this point in the schedule at all. We've taken every 50-50 and given it to the other team to this point.
I mean, imagine if the Niners do get off to the 3-1 start. They lose to the Seahawks week 1, but then they beat the Saints, Cardinals, and Jaguars. They're 3-1, and then all of a sudden, Rams game 3-2, Buccaneers game they're 3-3, Falcons game they're 3-4, Texans game they're 3-5. I mean, people will be losing their S around week 8.
Think about what KBR is going to be saying about the $53 million Brock Purdy when they're 3-5.
Oh my God, they're 3-5 out of the chute, but it's possible. It's possible.
It is.
So the Niners are. I have Minnesota out and the Niners in.
All right, so take the Niners schedule down here, and then we'll go back and we'll reset on the playoff teams and take a look at what we want to do. So here's all the playoff teams again, and we can just tell people what we've done. So we bounced the Vikings there. So on that bottom right row, we've got the Vikings out, and we have the Niners in instead. So that's great. Now, anywhere else on the board, is there anyone else we want to absolutely take out? Now, I'm going to
take out Tampa. And even though I like Tampa, and I like Tampa's draft, but I just think that division is going to be Atlanta's division. Atlanta went 8-9 last year. Tampa went 10-7. This year, I just think Tampa's going to go 8-9.
Okay, so
I like Atlanta to go 10-7.
I love it. All right, so lose the graphic and we'll take a look at Tampa first. All right, so we'll lose the graphic and then we'll get Tampa up here and we'll take a look at this schedule. And Tampa's an interesting one because Tampa's actually, I love this stat about Tampa, Larry. NFC teams to go to the playoffs 4 years in a row, and now looking at 5 years in a row. There's only one team that's done that. You can throw Tampa's schedule up here, but the Bucs are the only NFC team to have been in the playoffs the last 4 straight seasons, and they're looking at now doing it for 5.
Okay, so this is my belief, and it's funny. I didn't research this.
Yeah.
I just went with my just general feeling. But I had Minnesota out and Tampa out. And now that I'm looking at this, I feel better about Tampa being out. Why? Because Tampa is another ambush team. Look at this team. Look at this schedule. They play at the Falcons in week 1. I think the Falcons are going to be the surprise team. I like the Falcons to win that game in week 1 with Michael Penix at home. Then they go Texans on the road on Monday Night Football.
2 straight road games. Yeah.
I think there's a very good chance they're done there. They lose there, go 0-2. I think they'll beat the Jets in week 3, but look who's sitting for them in week 4. It's the Philadelphia Eagles. So I think Tampa gets all, even though Tampa is a good team, and even though Tampa had a good draft, I think they're going to get off. I think they're going to be ambushed.
And
I think
remember,
they're going to be. I think they're going to get off to a 1-3 start in September, and then the next month is very challenging. At Seattle, Niners at home, at Lions on the road on Monday Night Football. I think there's a very good chance that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to be 7 games in and maybe be 1-6 or 2-5.
This is awesome to look at here because it actually, you're right. I initially was giving Tampa the benefit of the doubt, mostly because I'm thinking one NFC South team in, and I know you're feeling Atlanta, and I was. And remember, Atlanta played Sunday Night Football Week 17 against the Commanders last season. That game went into overtime, and Washington won that game. Had it gone the other way, and of course it didn't, but that's how close Atlanta was to being a playoff team. Atlanta still had a wild card shoe into the playoffs had they won that game, and it didn't happen, and that's fine. But Atlanta was much closer than you're remembering. I mean, Atlanta with Penix was so fascinating, and considering that Cousins started the season, you would have counted them out. You know, Cousins throws for 500 yards in one game, and then he's not even starting by the end of the season. It really unraveled in many ways for Atlanta, and they still almost got there. And now they're going to have an offseason of knowing Penix is their guy. So that could be something. But when you look at Tampa, a couple of questions to ask them is, are you getting another 1,000 from Evans? You saw what happened the final game of the season. He gets his 1,000 yards. The team celebrates. It's an epic moment. But you've got Godwin injured. I thought that was a running game that played way above its head. I was surprised.
Bucky Irving.
Yeah. I'm sorry, that team was way above its head when it came to running the ball, and credit to them, they figured that out. But is Baker going to be that again? Now, Baker was a top 5 quarterback when you look at yardage last season. Baker was awesome when it came to touchdown passes and yardage, and I've already told you he's got the second greatest play any quarterback made last season when he took Bosa out of bounds to extend that drive and send that game, tie that game against the Niners, which of course Moody would love to forget that game, even though he walks off sort of quote unquote the hero in that game. But that was an awesome performance from Baker Mayfield, and he can do that. But it's tough. The Eagles, they've owned, if you want, the Eagles. They played the last 2 times they played them. Yes, they beat them. They beat them in the playoffs, and then they beat them in the regular season last year. But different Eagles team, different Bucs team, and of course the Eagles know what Tampa's got, and the Eagles were playing without A.J. Brown in that game, so you really don't know exactly how that would have gone. But I think you're right. The 2 road games to start the season, that's tough. And if you want, you know what? I think we can take a look at Atlanta now. If this is going to be, if for you this is Tampa out and Atlanta in, it's worth taking a look at Atlanta. Let's really go through this here with Penix. Thinking about Penix, do you see 10 wins here? I think he can get there.
Well, I first of all, I love week 1. So I love Falcons in week 1. And I think teams are going to sleep on the Falcons. I don't think Falcons are going to be considered that hot shot of a team.
Yeah.
They also get, I think, kind of I think the Falcons are going to start piling up wins in the middle of the year. I'm giving you an example. From week 9 through week 14, this is their stretch. Patriots, Colts in Germany at a neutral site, Panthers at home, at the Saints, at the Jets. I mean, those might be all the worst teams in football right there. I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4. You got 5 gimmies in a row. 5 gimmies. So I expect them to sweep the Saints. I think they'll split with the Bucks. I think they'll sweep the Panthers. Yeah, I like. I like the Falcons. I think the Falcons may pull an upset against the Niners. They get the NFC West. They get the week 5 bye. I think that's perfect for them. I think Penix is going to be really, really good. I mean, you got to remember this. I mean, the Atlanta Falcons, if you go look at the offseason that they had, they actually added quite a bit. I mean, I think the Falcons are a pretty good football team. Before you even go, Penix and Bijan Robinson. I mean, that's pretty good right there, right?
And Larry, remember,
they got a pretty good offensive line.
we got to give credit to any team that pulled off 2 first-round draft picks in this year's draft, right? I mean,
they got 2 first-round draft choices.
Yes.
They got real.
Yes.
I mean, they got real. They didn't. This is a team that on defense has had no teeth to them at all.
0.
Because they have no edge rush. But now you added in one draft Jalen Walker and James Pierce.
Oh,
You have in the middle Onyemata and Rukaroro. So, I mean, I kind of like their front. And then they added 2 really, really good safeties, I think, in Xavier Watts and Billy Bowman. And they already had Jesse Bates. They've got a decent secondary. So I like the Falcons. I think the Falcons are, Raheem Morris is a good head coach. Ulbrich is under the gun because of what his kid did. So you think Ulbricht's going to have to absolutely be
and
better.
last season. And by the way, and not only the pressure what happened with his son, the Jets thing did not get better. Remember, he also took over when Saleh was out. That was Ulbricht's job with Roger. That was an ugly stretch. That didn't look very nice. So I'm sorry, but you're right about that. And one other thing to point out here about the NFC South. Remember why Atlanta was alive week 18. Do you know what it was, Larry? You know what the key to their season was? And remember, it could come down to this again very well. Considering you're saying Tampa's out and Atlanta's in, Atlanta swept Tampa last season. That would be the key to this happening. If they sweep Tampa again, that's it. That's it. If you look at the schedule here, the swing there is simply that. A lot of these come down to the division.
Let me give you one other one. Atlanta's got two quarterbacks they can win with. They can win with Michael Penix, and if Penix doesn't do the job, they can win with Kirk Cousins.
And imagine, and Cousins the hero, he's done that once, right? The best Cousins ever. I mean, Cousins is great under fire, isn't he? He's great when he's kind of trying to win the job, when it's RG3 or him. Then it's the 2 seasons of franchise tag in Washington where he was great, won the division, went to the playoffs with them as well. Then in Minnesota, he's seemingly not the guy. He can never win a playoff game. Then he wins that playoff game against the Saints. Cousins is great, not necessarily when he's handed $180 million, but when he's fighting to show the world what he's worth is when he plays his best. And certainly to have Penix playing ahead of him is a chance for him to prove, wait, maybe this team's better with me at the helm.
Well, and then, the other thing that happens is that quarterbacks sometimes get hurt. And if Baker Mayfield's backup is Kyle Trask, Michael Pratt, and Connor Bazelak.
No.
I mean, if Baker goes down, they're going to lose their ass. And they've got some good talent. There's no question. They got a good offensive line. They got a good running back. They got three good receivers. I like Emeka Egbuka. But I'm going to project a Baker Mayfield injury and a little bit of a regression from Tampa in this upcoming season.
All right, great. All right, so lose this.
Yeah, Tampa's out. Atlanta's in. Okay. Minnesota's out. The Niners are in.
All right, so lose this, and I'll go back to look at all the playoff teams here, and I'll reset exactly where we're at right now because this is it's fascinating to do this. And again, everyone, play along at home and see if you can get there because it's very difficult. You can show all the playoff teams from last year, and we'll reset kind of what we did here so far with you going with Tampa out and Atlanta in. We already got the Vikings out, and we put the Rams in, and I want to throw the NFC for a loop here with one other one. Penix looked better than I thought as a rookie. Clearly, right? I mean, I was thoroughly impressed. I thought Cousins, I thought that was going to go back to Cousins at one point. I just thought they were not going to get everything they wanted. So you have Tampa out and basically Atlanta winning the South. That's what it would take basically. So Atlanta's winning the South at that point, which is again totally possible. That division is essentially up for grabs, and unless Carolina is coming all the way with Bryce Young, I see it between Atlanta and Tampa as well. Now here's where I have it interesting. If you look at the teams that made it last season.
Penix didn't play well, by the way.
No, he wasn't. No.
Penix had 3 touchdowns, 3 picks. He completed 58%. It wasn't like Penix stepped in and looked awesome. I just am projecting him to look awesome because I think really that's what you have to do. Think he's going to be a good player.
No, we're getting way ahead. We're doing homework here way ahead of when it's due, Larry. I mean, again, we have to come up. It's by December that by January really that you got 4 teams out and 4 in, and we're going to take 3 out and put 3 in right now, and it's May, so we're getting way ahead of it. But I think this is fun to do. Once the schedule comes out, it becomes a little more clear, and you can see it in focus. Now, here's my wild, ridiculous take. All right, the most ridiculous thing me or maybe anybody will say is the Cowboys are a playoff team. So look, call me crazy, but I think if we take a look at the Cowboys schedule, I think you can get to 10 wins. And again, and for this to happen, so we already have The team we both agree with in the NFC that's out is Minnesota. I'd have to come up with another team to be out, and even Tampa wouldn't necessarily help the Cowboys because that means basically another South team is in. So I'm going to say either the Packers or the Rams don't make it. And that might seem crazy right now, but trust me, if you look at their schedules, it is possible. And I already went over with you the Rams. The Rams we know have an Eagles game, a Ravens game, and a Lions game. And right now, you're probably looking at those as losses. Right now, at least anyone who's just blanket looking at the schedule, you're going to say LLL on those. Now, the Cowboys, can you see 10 wins here? I think you can easily see 10 wins for the Cowboys. And again, I think you could even give the Cowboys 3-3 in the division, and you can still get to 10. I'm sorry, Larry, but at the Bears, that's a win. Give them 4.
I don't know about that, actually.
Okay.
I mean, I think the Bears are a really, really tough team at home.
Okay, and guess what?
I don't like the Bears at home.
Okay.
I feel like the Bears get calls at home. I feel like the Bears are always in these games at home. On the road, they're not very good, and they look really, really bad at times on the road.
Yes,
but at home, I don't know, man. This is what I'm looking at losses for Dallas.
Okay, give it to
at
me.
Philly.
Yep.
At Bears.
Okay.
Green Bay.
It's 3.
Washington.
4.
At Denver.
5.
At Raiders.
6.
Eagles.
7. Swept by the Eagles.
Chiefs.
I think. Okay. 8.
Lions.
9.
Chargers.
10. Now Vegas has them at about 7.5. So
at Washington.
Okay, so that
I think they're 11. I think they're an 11 loss team.
You gave me 6 and 11 for the Cowboys. I think that's absurd. Okay, I want to argue this.
Okay.
Number one,
What did they finish last year?
I think they actually finished with 6 last year, maybe only 5.
Yeah, so it's
okay.
not.
So it's
not
not
like it's
okay.
totally crazy.
But wait a second. Can we at least say that last season had Dak Prescott down and out, right? I mean, you're playing without
They
your
won
quarterback.
7 last year. They won 7 last year.
7 without Dak. They lost Dak early in the season.
They have no home field.
Season.
They have no home field. They went 2-7 at home.
And what did they go the season before? Perfect. The season before, healthy Dak, they were perfect at home, except for the playoff game, of course. But regular season, they were perfect at home. They had a home winning streak over the course of 2 seasons, and then the Packers blew that up in the playoffs, obviously, and they never recovered from that. But again, think about this. McCarthy out, Prescott in. Right there, you're looking better. I think healthy Dak and healthy Micah Parsons, there's 10 wins here, and I don't even think it's difficult to get there. If you're honest and looking at this schedule and considering what they can do in the division, also remember, Dak is 9-4 against the Eagles. Healthy Dak is an entirely different thing than not when they play the Eagles. Those are incredibly competitive games. Dak versus Jalen are incredibly competitive, down-to-the-wire battles. So I'm not just giving them 0 for 2 against the Eagles. I think that's a split with the Eagles this season. Cowboys are going to find a win against the Eagles. Could happen week 1, but even if it doesn't, it is going to happen for this team. And here is what I can't stand about last season. And I told you this, Larry. What the hell were the Cowboys thinking coming into last season with their running game? How in the world did a team this team wins the rushing title more often than not, and they went into last season thinking that they were going to get by with Rico Dowdle and Ezekiel Elliott, 2 seasons removed? I mean, Ezekiel Elliott was actually a Patriot, came back. The Cowboys thought Rico Dowdle and Ezekiel Elliott were going to be the answer for them in the running game. The running game was putrid. This was the worst rushing offense in the league. They were awful last season. I couldn't believe how bad this team was in the NFC running the ball.
They're still awful.
Well, look,
They're still awful. I
like Javonte. I like they upgraded
he averaged
their
3.7 a carry. He averaged 3.7 a carry this last year. He's had a major surgery.
Offensive
I don't
line.
know, man.
Okay, Booker on the offensive line. You have to say that the first round
Booker.
draft pick could make a major difference for a team that absolutely makes its name based on what it does on the offensive line, pushing people around most seasons. Didn't happen last season. They addressed that with the draft. But
they only got a running back who last year averaged 30 yards a game. 30 yards a game. He averaged 3.7 a carry and 30.2 yards per game rushing. So it's not like Javonte Williams was like some It's not like they're getting the Javonte Williams who was at North Carolina a few years ago. They're
Sure.
getting a totally, compromised version of Javonte Williams.
What do you think about George Pickens also?
I think he's one of the most unprofessional receivers in pro football.
He is that. But can he? But is he going to be?
He's
a
guy
great
that
for 10
lacks
games?
discipline on a team that lacks discipline. So I don't love him there.
I feel as if I know that Schottenheimer has something to prove here. McCarthy, what they were getting out of McCarthy. Now, granted, McCarthy was pretty good in the regular season for them. Actually, the issue for McCarthy was really the postseason more than anything else. My favorite stat about the Cowboys, and I'm sure it is for yours, once Washington landed in the NFC Championship game this past season, the only team not to be in the NFC Championship game over the last 25, I think it's maybe even 27 years, is the Cowboys. Every other team in the NFC has been to the NFC Championship game since the Cowboys have last been there. Every single other team except for Dallas. I mean, just think about that. Carolina, Arizona, the Seahawks. These are teams that have been in the NFC Championship since the last time the Cowboys have been there. That is what they are chasing. But this team, when healthy, is competitive in the East. And no one wants to think it right now because the Eagles are Super Bowl champions. But Larry, since 2004, how many teams in the NFC East have won that division back-to-back seasons? Zero.
I think it's going to be the Philly or Washington.
Could very well be.
I mean, look at Dallas. Do you believe in a Brian Schottenheimer? I don't know why you would.
I believe in Dak Prescott. I believe in healthy Dak Prescott. Do you believe in Matt
Eberflus? I don't know why you would. Do you believe in Nick Sorensen? Those are their coordinators.
Eberflus as a coordinator, I believe in. Nobody's gonna sing his praises
as the offensive coordinator. I mean, I think Dallas, they haven't been able to run it. They added Javonte Williams, who averaged 30 yards a game rushing. Jaden Blue fumbled 9 times in his career at Texas. Miles Sanders, who's absolutely done.
That's nothing. Yep.
Absolutely done. So I don't think they really have much of a rushing attack. You added Tyler Booker, who I really, really like at left guard, but he's a rookie guard that is probably going to take some time. You added George Pickens to your receiving group. Okay, I don't know if that's awesome. And then defensively, we haven't even mentioned the biggest issues, which is they drafted Mozzie Smith. He has not been good. He's still projected to start. They have their best defensive players are DeMarvion Overshown. I mean, obviously outside of Parsons. DeMarvion Overshown. He's coming off of a major injury. Trevon Diggs is coming off of a major injury. So, I mean, Siobhan Revel, their corner that they drafted out of East Carolina, coming off of a major ACL. I don't know, man. I'm not seeing. Who are the starters going to be at linebacker? You have Kenneth Murray and who?
Again, it's going to come down to the division. It's going to come down to the division games. If there is a split with Philly, and I understand right now people are chalking it up as 0 wins against Philly. Are you saying they're going to get swept by Philly and Washington?
I think Philly and Washington.
First of all, they beat Washington without Dak. They beat Washington without Dak last season, which was a wild game, obviously, the way that game finished, and then it took a kick return, right? But they did beat Washington when Washington was at its height, and they didn't have Dak. They beat Washington. I'm sorry, these divisional games cannot just be chalked up as wins and losses based on what's on paper. And
no, they own the Giants. Like, I'll give you that. They'll probably sweep the Giants. They own the Giants, but
they're not going to go. They're not going to have a losing record in the division. They're going to go 3-3 or 4-2 in the division. They're going to go 3-3 or 4-2 in the division, and if they do, they're a playoff team. It's just how about this?
That's got to be one of the worst. That's got to be one of the. If they make the playoffs, that's one of the worst defensive front sevens to make the playoffs. You got Parsons, okay, but then Dante Fowler, Mozzie Smith, Osa Odigizua from UCLA is not bad, but then Overshown's out. Kenneth Murray's a first-year player, came in from Tennessee. I don't know how good he's going to be. Trevon Diggs is out. I don't know, man. If anything at all happens to Parsons, I mean, they're just totally cooked. I didn't love their draft.
Again, the Booker thing was so over.
like
To me,
Booker, but-
that was so right. And sometimes, look, the totality of a draft may not come into focus immediately, but at least to me, this team addressed and did the obvious thing with that first pick. It's going to make a difference. This team is built through its offensive line, and that's what it's going to take. I see this team. The only IF, and I hate that word, but it's Dak. It's Dak's health. Healthy Dak gets to the playoffs with this team. That's it. And again, it's sort of Packers or Rams that could take a step back to allow this to happen. And both of us think
And
the
by
Rams
the way,
could take a
if
step back.
Dak gets hurt, you know who's
That's
coming
different.
in.
No, that's a different story. No, that's
If Dak gets hurt,
it's our guy.
it's Joe Milton.
It's
Joe Milton.
which is
Who's
hilarious.
raw.
The ride, yes.
He's super raw. I don't know. We'll see about Dallas. I'm not a Dallas. So you have Dallas going to the playoffs. So who do you not have going to the playoffs?
So in that case, and we can take a look. I'm gonna say, I think I got their schedules right. Okay, so let's look at the Rams. Okay, it could be the Rams. It could be the Packers. Let's take a look at the Rams right now. So for the Rams to miss, all right, could you see 8 losses here? 8. Can you get 8 losses? And again, Eagles, Lions, and Ravens could be 3. Correct?
I'm going through it here. Let me see. 5.
I'm gonna give. How about this? 3
I don't
in
see
the division.
I don't see 8 losses. Maybe 6.
I'm gonna say 3 in the division and Eagles, Lions, Ravens. So that's 6 losses. That's 6. So that means you're looking at, could the Texans be a loss? Certainly could be. Certainly could be.
I have Texans at Eagles, Niners at Ravens.
You love the Falcons.
At Falcons and Lions. So I see 6 losses for sure, maybe 7.
Here's the
So I'm
8.
thinking 10 and 7.
Okay. And that's going to be close. That's going to be on the cusp. That's going to be week 18 playoff implications. And that's all it takes is one slip up. I see it as the 3 first place matchups. I see them all as losses. I see Eagles, Lions, Ravens as losses. I see 3 divisional losses, and I see Texans and Falcons as losses. Those are the 8. That's not that different than what you see. We're one off. We're one off there. All right. So that's one. And then look, LaFleur has been outstanding. LaFleur has been amazing in the regular season. He really has been. In fact, I'm still stunned that Rodgers got away from LaFleur. I understood there was the whole beef with McCarthy, and apparently McCarthy wasn't smart enough for Rodgers. The fact that he got away from LaFleur was crazy to me. LaFleur was 13 wins, 3 years in a row, and then Rodgers is out. That really, and it obviously has not gone very well for him since then. So I do like what LaFleur does in the regular season. But can you see 8 losses here? For the Packers, who got swept by the Lions last season. In fact, swept by the Lions and the Vikings last season. And we understand the Vikings won't be there again, but are there 8 here? Are there 8 here?
I don't think so. I mean,
okay.
8 losses I would say these are my losses for Green Bay.
Go for it.
Commanders, at Steelers, Eagles,
Yep.
at Lions, at Broncos, and Ravens. So
They're going to lose.
I
Okay.
have 6 losses.
I say they lose the game to Chicago also. I say they lose the game to Chicago as well.
They don't lose to Chicago very much.
Well, I mean look,
seriously,
Chicago,
they have not lost to
Chicago
more than 2 or 3 times in
absolutely
the last 25 years.
Chicago absolutely blew the game-winning kick against the Packers last season to split that series. They were lining up for the game-winning kick with no time on the clock. That was a disaster. What happened for sure? That was in the run of Eberflus. Just nothing could go right at all for that team. So
I'm not a Bears or Vikings guy this year. I kind of like Detroit and Green Bay a little bit more. So
okay,
I'll say
Ravens,
Ravens, Broncos, Lions, Eagles, Steelers, and Lions or Commanders for sure. So I would say they're a 6-loss team for sure. Maybe a 7-loss team.
I see 7 for sure. because you're going to split with the Lions, best case scenario. I say you go 3. Again, I got 3 division wins. 3 division wins. So that's 3 division losses. Commanders' loss is 4. That Cowboys game could be a swing. The Bengals' loss is 5, week 6. I understand it's out of a bye, but I love the Bengals. I know we're going to talk about that. Steelers is going to be at Pittsburgh is going to be a tough one. At Pittsburgh is definitely going to be a difficult game for this team. That's 6. Ravens, 7.
You got to remember this, though. Green Bay is a really, really good football team at home, and you just had them losing in cold weather at home to the Ravens.
Baltimore's going to be
really good. Green Bay's really good at home. I know this because I wager quite a bit on Green Bay at home.
Yeah.
Green Bay is a tough team to beat at home, and as the season goes on, they become tougher to beat at home. So I don't know that they're going to lose to the Ravens.
I'm
Bears,
rolling the dice. I'm rolling the dice. One of
Vikings.
these two schedules. Look, to me, it's just one of these two schedules. Rams or Packers. One of these two is going to result in the 9 losses. 8 losses. All you need is 8 losses. You give me 8 losses here for the Rams, or you give me 8 losses here for the Packers. I can get the Cowboys in. All right, we can lose the graphic for a second and go back and we'll look at all the teams. So far, we've done the NFC. Really, we kind of took apart the NFC, which was great. And I see that. I'm out on a limb, maybe perhaps with the Cowboys, but we both love. Let's throw up the teams. Let's throw up the teams here. All of them that made it last season. Let's remind everyone. Okay, so we both agree. Vikings out, Niners in. You have a little cleaner swap here. Bucks out, Falcons in. And I see either Rams or Packers out and Cowboys in. So that's the NFC. Now in the AFC.
That's the NFC.
So the
all right,
NFC.
So now we jump to the AFC.
So now look at the AFC. All right. So we again, let's reset for everybody. Each season over the last 30 years, 4 playoff teams.
Look at the Ram guy. The Ram guy's like, these are some horrible takes. Says the Ram guy after you just said that Rams aren't going to make the playoffs. Hey, I think the Rams are making the playoffs. Ram Faithful 39. Sammy says no. Yes. I say Rams in. I don't believe in Dallas at all.
It's fine. I just they're sort of an every other. If the Cowboys have a down season, they tend to have a major bounce back, and that's what I see for Dallas. Dallas doesn't stand for losing seasons back to back, and I don't think that happens. And again, yes, the Commanders could also, and look, the Commanders could regress and still make the playoffs. I mean, they were way above their head, so there's still a game in there you could lose. So I do like the Commanders take as well. So if we're gonna, so we did the NFC, and now can we find in the AFC? Is there a path for somebody new into the AFC? I think there's a real obvious one, and we can do that today. It's a little harder to get to, but I think for sure getting a new team into the AFC is so obvious to me, and I think we both agree on this one, Larry.
Okay, so I mean, I kind of think that the AFC playoff teams are probably going to be what they were last year, pretty much. I mean, Kansas City's still going to win that division. Buffalo's still going to win that division. Baltimore's still going to win that division. And I think as much as I want to see variety, I think the Texans are still going to win that division. So I think the division winners up top are all 4 still going to be the division winners.
Okay.
To me, it's just a matter of the teams on the bottom. Yes. And I'll say the Chargers are getting better with Harbaugh, and now they have Marion Hampton. I think the Chargers are absolutely going to be there. And I like Denver to get better as well. I mean, Denver has the best corner tandem in the sport now, in Jedi Barron and Surtain. So I like those teams to stay in. So I'm going to take Pittsburgh out, and I'll replace them with Cincinnati.
Okay, so you and I are on the same exact page. All right, so this is a swap. Pittsburgh for Cincinnati, and I think we can walk everybody through this pretty simply. So we can lose the graphic, and we'll get the Steelers schedule rocking for everybody, because the Steelers schedule is based on that we don't even know who their quarterback is. It's pretty funny here. Now, let's, for purposes of this, should we assume Rodgers is the quarterback? I mean, should we do that? I mean,
No,
if not,
I wouldn't assume that. It sounds like it. Who's the other? They're talking about Tannehill.
It's really interesting what's happening in Pittsburgh right now. I mean, it's Mason Rudolph essentially in Pittsburgh right now. So everybody, and did you hear Nance on the schedule release night? He went over the Steelers schedule, and Jim Nance essentially said, "Please, Aaron Rodgers, what are you doing? Be a part of this team," because he knows that week 1, that Steelers-Jets game, right out of the gate looks like, okay, this could be so fascinating because you could have Rodgers against the Jets, which would be for everybody wants to see that one. But if not for Rodgers, the Steelers schedule, I mean, you can get to 8 losses on this Steelers schedule pretty easy. And remember, this is a Steelers team that's in the playoffs, so this is not a last place schedule. They got some real tough games on here. The Steelers, it's going to be hard. And again, we don't even know who the quarterback is in Pittsburgh. So can you pile up 8 losses for the Steelers? I don't think it's hard at all. And remember, 8 losses also keeps the Tomlin statistic intact, Larry. Remember, Tomlin doesn't have losing seasons, right? Tomlin when it was a 16-game schedule, Tomlin was 8-8 or better. And even with the 17, it's been 9-8. He has not seen 8-9. So even 9-8, this team misses the playoffs. I see this. They miss the playoffs at 9-8. Are there 8 losses here? I just think there are right now. You can't give the benefit of the doubt to the Steelers. And by the way, the Steelers, Andrew has given me this one, Siciliano, how many playoff games have the Steelers won? Have they won with Watt?
None.
0.
Yeah, I could tell you that. They haven't won a playoff
wild.
game. They haven't won a playoff game since 2016.
That's wild.
It's 2025. I think this is going to be an ugly year for the Steelers.
It
Why?
Very well could be.
Because you don't have your quarterback right now. And if you get off to a slow start, you're cooked. Let's look at the rest of their schedule from November on. Okay. November on. They go home against Colts, probably a win. At Chargers,
by the way,
Colts
beat them last season. Just remember that also.
Yeah, but I don't think that should be an easy game, right?
Sure,
Colts
sure,
at
yeah.
At Chargers, tough game. Bengals at home, tough game. At Chicago during Thanksgiving week, I think it's going to be a tough game. Home against Buffalo is going to be a tough game. At Baltimore is going to be a tough game. Home against Miami, I don't know. That's a Monday Night Football game. That's probably a win. But then they go at Detroit, at Cleveland, home against Baltimore.
And remember at Cleveland in the snow, Jameis Winston last season.
Yeah,
that was an L.
So and who knows who's going to quarter? I mean, first of all, even if you go with Rodgers, there's a very good chance that Rodgers, who's old, is not going to be healthy in the second half of the year. So if you go with Rodgers, you could be staring at the Steelers led by Mason Rudolph with no Najee Harris, in coming down the stretch. I think they get swept by the Ravens. I think they lose in Detroit. I think it's a very challenging schedule for them. I look at Pittsburgh and I think they're going to rampage early. At Jets, week 1, that's a win. Home against Seattle in week 2, that's a win.
Yep.
At New England in week 3, that's a win. Home against Minnesota in week 4.
Although that game's international. That's international. So still, but still.
But let's just say there's a very good chance the Steelers get off to a 3-1 start. Then they go Cleveland after the bye. So they could very easily, I would say you can bank that the Steelers are going to be 4-1 going into the middle of October.
And remember this, Larry.
That's when things are going to turn because they go at Green Bay or at Cincinnati, then Green Bay, Indy, at Chargers. It gets very, very difficult. I think the Steelers are going to start fast and finish slow. And there's going to come a lot of heat on Tomlin at the end of the year.
There's not a more slow finish than what happened in Pittsburgh last season. Larry, that's 5 losses in a row to end the season.
Yeah. It's going to be the same thing
with a whimper. It was just a whimper of what the Steelers, and they could do nothing right offensively. at the end of last season. And why does slugging Aaron Rodgers into this mix feel like it's a guarantee for 10 wins? It doesn't at all.
No way.
It didn't happen.
Also,
it didn't happen in New York.
You're not going to be able to take a quarterback who's not in your system, not in your building, not working with your guys, and just plug him in, and it's going to be awesome. And they tried this last year with Fields and then Russell, and it didn't work. Then they, abort, and now they're sitting here with, it's almost June and they still don't have a quarterback. I think the Steelers are going to take it on the chops. I think they're going to get off to a hot start. People are going to be thinking big, and then they are going to hit the skids, and it is going to be ugly.
It is absolutely going to be ugly. And not only that, so now if we have Pittsburgh out, let's do what I think is the easiest thing to do. Everything we've talked about today, the easiest thing we talked about today when we're talking about new playoff teams for next season was the Niners. And to me, it is the Bengals screaming at us that they're a playoff team. Let's think about a couple of things, even just from last season. First of all, the Bengals lost 2 heartbreaking games to the Ravens late last season. They didn't convert on a 2-point conversion. They missed a game-winning kick in overtime that was a botched snap. So they didn't even just miss the kick. It was just a terrible snap on that one. So they're 0-2 against the Ravens, where they absolutely could have been 2-0. This team had the number 1 passer in Joe Burrow and the number 1 receiver in regards to yardage in Chase. This team was an enigma as to not making the playoffs last season. They won that crazy game against Denver late in the year. This was just a little too late for Cincinnati last season. They were absolutely going to be a playoff team. Instead, it's Denver. Tip of the cap there. But the Bengals this season, I am as bullish on the Bengals as I am on the Niners. Counting 10 wins on this schedule is simple. This is simple. And again, look at the note at the bottom there. They're not traveling a tremendous amount. This team is in a great spot. They're set up incredibly well. And for not being a playoff team last season, now they're not playing a first place schedule here. We know their division is brutal, but there are winnable games everywhere for Cincinnati because they are a tough team on other teams' schedules. Cincinnati's a team that other people don't want to play. The Bengals, and they paid their guys. Now, will it work out that they paid both Chase and Higgins? Now, according to Burrow, that was the right move, and Gesicki for that matter, but it comes down to Trey Hendrickson, doesn't it? They better be.
Is he going to be there? I mean, that's the thing. I mean, I know Pittsburgh is going to be the team that falls out of it. I'm just not convinced that the Bengals are going to be the team that jumps into it from the standpoint of, look at them. I mean, on defense, they're going to lose. It sounds like they're going to trade Trey Hendrickson. So draft pick compensation is not going to help you win games.
Nope.
You're going to lose Trey Hendrickson. The rest of your defensive line is B.J. Hill, T.J. Slayton, and Joseph Osai. Jermaine Pratt is may or may not going to be there. I mean, he had well over 100 tackles last year at weak side linebacker. So you could be taking out your best defensive lineman and your best linebacker.
They were putrid defensively. They were awful.
They didn't draft all that well. I mean, they got Shamar Stewart, but we'll see. Demetrius Knight, Barrett Carter, some pretty good linebackers there, but they're pretty young. Offensively, you got Chase and Higgins and Gesicki, but their line is just okay, and I don't know about their running back. So I definitely think Steelers are going to be the team that's out in the AFC. And I would tend to lean towards Cincinnati as the team that's in. But I don't love it. I love it.
I love it. I believe in this quarterback. You and I went over quarterbacks last week, and when it came to the top 4 quarterbacks in this league, we, without flinching, had Burrow in the top 4, along with Mahomes, Lamar, and Josh Allen. That was obvious and easy for us to do. Joe Burrow is a star who will win a Super Bowl at some point in his career, sooner rather than later. Cincinnati is absolutely this. I as far as putting money down, Larry, I over under. I'm not necessarily. I think it's 9.5 only for them. But I love Cincinnati as a playoff team. I just think, especially because it's in the division, it's the team we see taking a step back is Pittsburgh, and Cincinnati was right with a disgusting disgusting defense that couldn't stop anybody last season, this team was right there at the end. And when you look at this schedule, Jaguars is a win. Dolphins, I don't believe in the Dolphins at all. And it's in Miami, but it's in Miami late in the season. I love that. Those two right there, I love it. I mean, Jaguars and Dolphins. I think this team's going to go 4-2 in the division.
They're going to have to get off to a hot start. But
they very well could. And they don't. And by the way, by the way, let's remind everyone, at least I want to be fair to this. That is the last team this team has, the Bengals, they are the last team to say hot start because it has not happened. The year they went to the Super Bowl, they didn't even get off to a hot start.
I know. They're not a fast starting team, but look at the way this thing goes.
Yeah, it should.
They're probably going to get off to a fast start as far as the first couple weeks. But then from week 3 down, at Vikings, tough place to play. At Broncos on Monday Night Football, tough place to play. Week 5 at home against the Lions. Lions are better. Week 6 at Green Bay, tough place to play.
Sure.
Week 7 against the Steelers on national TV. That's a tough one. And I'll say this, coming on, that's a pretty tough stretch considering off the bye week in week 10, they go at Steelers, Patriots, at Ravens on Thanksgiving, almost a for sure loss. At Buffalo, Ravens again.
I hate this. The Eagles schedule has this also.
This is a brutal. They're brutal. The Cincinnati schedule post week 10 is brutal.
I don't like the Ravens week 13, week 15. I hate that. I hate when divisional games are stacked that close together. I can't stand it. Especially that massive. Ravens and Bengals are going to define this division, and for them to play essentially back-to-back is just gross. But you just went over a stretch that's difficult, but within that, I want to look at it one other way. What if you look at it like this? We both think the Steelers are going to be worse and taking a step back. Week 7 through week 12 could also be an incredible run for this team. Steelers, Jets, Bears, bye week, Steelers, Patriots. Steelers, Jets, Bears, bye week, Steelers, Patriots. If the Bengals at that point, whether they had a hot start or not, if the Bengals resemble anything close to the team they were this past season, those are wins. Steelers, Jets, Bears, bye week, Steelers, Patriots, and only one of those is a road game. I love that stretch. That could define this season. You can find 10 wins here with multiple combinations. This is a playoff team. This was damn near a playoff team last season, and this is going to be, if health does not play a massive factor here, this is a playoff team, Larry. I'm sorry. I am bullish on this. And you were trying to find maybe somebody else, if not for Cincinnati. If Pittsburgh's out, who's in Cincinnati? Is there anyone else in here? So we can lose the Bengals here. And we can even is there a team in the AFC that didn't make the playoffs last season that you like? Forget about liking them close to the Bengals. I think it's the Bengals in a runaway, but is there even another team you could talk about? Because you like Denver again. You like the Chargers again. Is there a team that didn't make it last season that you see for this season that's in? I think it's Cincinnati, period. I know you said Cincinnati at the moment, but I know you don't love it as much. Is there even another team you're thinking about? There's one other for me. There's one other that I really think it could happen for, but the quarterback situation's been just so bad. It's just been so. Indianapolis felt like a team that was going to compete significantly last season, and that was a disaster with Anthony Richardson. And I have no idea what to expect this season. The fact that Daniel Jones is there to provide competition is just, they have got to be wondering, what the hell are we going to get out of quarterback this season? But if Anthony Richardson is anything close to the athlete he's supposed to be, Indy is also a playoff team next season.
Yeah, no, I don't see any team. I mean, I think Pittsburgh will be out, Cincinnati will be in, but I'm just saying I don't know if it's going to be. I don't know if Cincinnati's going to be impressive. I think it's going to be very similar to what they were last year.
But they were. But they were record-setting offensively. They were record-setting offensively last year. So this is a team that absolutely put it together. I understand defensively we're still worried about them, but this team knows those are the issues. Again, Hendrickson's a massive linchpin in this entire thing, but Burrow, Chase, Higgins, I'm sorry, you can plug those in again, and those are numbers you're going to get. That is a mismatch. Chase and Higgins provides a mismatch, and Burrow knows how to exploit that, and I see that happening again.
It's pretty bad defense. And now now you're projecting them to not have Pratt or Hendrickson. I don't know. I would say somebody probably makes the playoffs. Maybe it'll be one of these, huge underdogs. Maybe it'll be New England. Maybe it'll be the Raiders. Maybe it'll be the Titans under Cam Ward. I don't know if I can project any of those teams, though. I would say I would probably project Cincinnati to make it, but I don't love it. And I also think that there's a very good chance that Burrow gets hurt behind that offensive line.
Don't say it. Don't comeback player of the year. Don't say it. Don't say it, Larry. I hate that.
He's not.
No, he's been beaten up. He's the year they went to the Super Bowl. He was beaten up. I mean, he gets that's it. That's the knock. That's the knock. They get destroyed in the Super Bowl. Aaron Donald absolutely could have been MVP instead of Cooper Kupp in that. Oh, and by the way, for the Rams,
I think Cincinnati plays some of the NFL's more physical teams all in a row there. I mean, the first couple weeks are gimmies. Then they go at Vikings, at Broncos, home against the Lions, at Green Bay, home against the Steelers, Jets, who are very physical defense, and Bears going into the bye. I think there's a very, very good chance that Burrow gets beat up in the first half of the year and is not up to the second half of the year after the bye. Because after the bye, at Steelers, Patriots, at Ravens, at Bills, Ravens again.
That sandwich. Look,
Cardinals.
the sandwich.
If you think the Cardinals are an up and coming team, especially defensively, they've got a lot of picks on defense. That could be a challenging game. So, I mean, if you said to me Bengals, I think the Bengals are going to look good in Week 1 against the Browns, good in Week 18 against the Browns. I don't know in between.
Week 7 through 12. Larry, you and I are going to be talking.
I'll say
during
they
the
get
season.
in, but I don't feel great about it.
Okay, that's it. But that's all it takes. You don't have. This is not going to the Super Bowl. This is just in. Bengals in, Steelers out. I think that's a slam dunk. I think that one we can agree on that. That makes a lot of sense. That just
we've hit it.
Sorry.
We did it.
We did it, Larry. We did it. Yeah, look,
our three out are Pittsburgh, Tampa, Minnesota.
I think now, yeah. You know what? You convinced me.
And I have Cincinnati, San Francisco, and Atlanta in.
And I got Dallas.
You have Dallas in instead of
Atlanta. Yep. So I'm bullish on the Cowboys. And again, I just remind people that Dak is 9-4 against the Eagles. When he's on the field playing, that is a different rivalry.
That's going to do it for us. Thanks to Sammy. Thanks to all of you. Thanks to our sponsors. Thanks to Mancini's. The links are in the description for all of the sponsors. Sammy, I'll give you the final word before we bolt for the door.
Thank you so much, Larry. At Thinking Out Loud, Siciliano and Sam is the YouTube page. Please check us out. I threw it there in the comments as well. And check us out, Larry. Thanks for doing this. These Mondays are fantastic for me. My brain is just always charged in this direction for what's going to happen in this league. And this league doesn't let up. You know, I mean, sure, the Warriors get eliminated, but with the Niners schedule, that was almost the gift of last week. It's like that sort of appeased the idea that the Warriors were gone and the Niners just already feel like a playoff team.
Yep, absolutely. Ram Faithful 39, lots of laughs. Thanks. There you go. That's going to do it for us. Thanks to Sammy. Thanks to all of you. Have a great rest of your Monday. I'll stream at 4 today with Grant Cohn. Until then, have a great day, everybody. Peace. Thanks for supporting the Krueg Show.
Yeah, never met a man I've been scared of. Careful.